And this lady recently cooked up a $1.5 million film rights deal with Columbia Pictures. Her name is Jacqueline Susann, and she can excite more hostility than any other writer since Judy LaMarche. How come? Well, the critics say that all she writes is potboilers. Many people resent the fact that she's made millions out of her last two books, Valley of the Dolls and her latest, The Love Machine. And everybody acknowledges that she could give a few lessons to Barnum and Bailey in self-promotion. Yet she's a happily married 41-year-old New Yorker with a 16-year-old son. But as Barbara Frum discovered, she's not like, say, Louisa May Alcott.
I think I'm a storyteller. I think that's the only place for the novel today. I think the big novels today are Harold Robbins, Leon Uris, Irving Wallace. They've all gotten the same kind of reviews I get, because it seems that there are maybe 6 or 7 egghead double-dome critics that say we want a book written that no one can understand but us. And if the whole world reads it and likes it, it can't be any good. It has to be something that only we understand, and the common person can't understand. Well,
but look at your competition. Your competition's Portnoy now, Portnoy's Complaint, and Couples.
That's not my competition, because...
And Myra Breckenridge. You're finding that some of the most esteemed authors are...
I could also call my competition Nabokov. And,
you see yourself in that league, eh?
I see myself as the best man. I'm a storyteller. And as long as Nabokov says that he's telling a story, so am I. He wants to get in my league and tell a story. He says this is a sex story. Fine. He wrote Lolita, didn't he?
That's very interesting. I didn't know that you had any artistic pretensions at all. I really didn't realize that you had.
I think when you say artistic pretensions, then they are pretensions. I think when you say I'm writing a story and I'm telling a story, what I do is I start out with a theme. In Valley of the Dolls, I start out with a theme of why today are people taking so many pills when 20 years ago they didn't. And then I say, well, people say if a girl came from a fine enough background, she wouldn't. So I pick a girl like Anne, who came from a fine background. And they say, well, if people had really had talent, they wouldn't. So I picked Neely and give her all the talent. And they say, well, if she really had beauty, she wouldn't. So I picked Jennifer and show how sad.
That's such thin stuff, isn't it, really?
Maybe for you, but not for
That's not my world. I mean, that's not...
What do you read?
What do I read? I just finished reading Portnoy's Complaint. I mean, that's high art. Whether the book is a total success is another question. But the man's an artist with words.
I think he's a great artist. I think he's a very interesting man, as I said in the States. I think Roth is one of the most finest writers I ever meet. I'd hate to shake hands with him.
That sounds like you're making a bad, dirty joke or something.
No, it's your statement.
Fears about his masturbatory tendencies.
Well, I mean, I find...
What happens with these literary people in New York? Do they snub you?
Oh, no, they invite me to all their parties
and
ask me the secret.
Is that so? Sure. So you think, then, that critics are wrong to hold up a book and insist it be a work of art. You think that it can be another product, really? Like a new kind of car or dress manufacturing?
It all depends what the book is supposed to be. A novel is an extension of life. A novel is meant to take a person into another area of life that they would not ordinarily
No, but you're
live.
talking about the novel now as a competing story form, something that a girl can read, you know, in the subway on her way to work.
That is what a novel is.
It's just fun. In other words, it doesn't have to be high art. It can be just fun.
I think great fun is high art. You know, it bores me when people say every minute has to be intense and we must do something with every minute. I mean, relax. Enjoy life. I mean, you've got 3 children. There must be a time when you sit down and say, let's just have fun. You don't have to say, I've got to learn something every minute. You sound like a kind of girl that would have the French record on while you're playing with a baby and someone else teaching you opera and having everything go. Every second is not our last. You know,
I feel rotten when I've spent 4 hours reading a bad book.
Well, then you're very uptight.
You think so?
Yeah.
And you don't ever get up in the middle of the night and say, Jacqueline Susann, you're not really, really very artistic. You don't ever hate yourself and feel a little cheesy?
I'd be awful sick if I got up in the middle of the night after selling 10 million copies.
You don't read I Am Mary Dunn, and you don't
I never heard of that book.
Oh, well, all right.
Who is I Am Mary
Dunn?
Who is I Am Mary Dunn? Who wrote it?
Brian Moore.
I don't know.
All right. But when... I just am assuming, all right, if I were a novelist and I read then something that was high art, then I would sort of think of myself as
well, then you're sick. I'm sorry.
not a fair example. If I see someone...
Well, yes, it is, because you're here doing interviews, and I think you're doing very well, and you're uptight, and I'm relaxed, and you're trying to bug me, and you're not getting away with it, and I'm having a marvelous time, and you're getting more uptight as we go along, and you're saying you'd get up in the middle of the night if you just sold a picture for $1.5 million like I have. Well, I'd say you're sick.
No, I wouldn't be upset about the money or the sale. I'd be proud of myself.
Well,
but I would look at it as though I had sort of speculated on land or come up with a new line of dresses or something.
I think that'd be pretty good.
Yeah, I think you'd probably be good at anything.
Well, it's the nicest thing you've said since we got going.
I think so, and I think that books, that's why I'm wondering if books for you isn't just sort of the thing that you can do.
Sure, it's my thing, and I think I do it well, and I think I'm a good writer.
I got a lot of respect for good art, I guess.
Well, so have I. My father was a portrait painter. What'd your daddy do?
Why?
Oh, because you've got such a hang-up about wanting art. My father has portraits in the Academy of Fine Arts. He's painted governors. He's painted Supreme Court justices.
So you think all the art is done in your family, you mean?
No, I think it goes on. But I am not hung up to think, am I doing art? You seem to do. What did your father do that makes you so hung up that you must get up in the middle of the night and say, is it art? What did
you
your
tell
father
me
do?
to go to a shrink. That's a shrink's quest. What did your father do?
Well, no, you just...
I don't think it's relevant. You think it's relevant.
Are you ashamed of what your father did?
No.
What did he do?
It's irrelevant to me for this discussion.
Now I'm curious.
Yeah, good. You can interview me next. What do you think about your husband's talents in making Valley of the Dolls, and I assume in this book?
Well, I think my husband is one of the most brilliant men in the world.
I'm talking about his promotional skills, which I understand played an enormous part in the success of Valley of the Dolls.
Oh, I think he's brilliant.
Do you discount the value of that in the success of Valley of the Dolls?
Alone, I could be nothing.
You see, I suppose I've heard you interviewed on American radio, and I always had this feeling of sort of the two of you sitting down and planning.
No, aren't you surprised? It's so different. We don't plan. When we sit down, we neck.
Oh, that is right out of one of your books, eh?
No, not out of my books. They don't just sit down and neck.
No.
They do other things.
Like what?
Well, you read them sometime. You might find out.
I read The Love Machine.
Mm-hmm.
I read it. But, you know, it's sort of on a necking level for me, that kind of sex, I guess.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Slapping prostitutes, I mean,
He punched prostitutes, but he
punching
did other things to them, too.
And saying mother at the moment of orgasm, it just doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm glad you got 3 children, so I know you did something.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've had a ball.